Hello and welcome back to Tinie Corner, where we talk about things and stuff over a cup of coffee. This is episode 2 for Tinie Corner.
Yes,
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Are we not going to introduce ourselves?
I'm Anon.
I'm Cindy.
Do we restart it now?
Nah. I mean, they know how it is. I mean, we haven't really gotten used to this whole setup yet, and the whole talking to a camera. Because it is just, can't really see everybody either. So,
and just because we're models doesn't mean we have to be, good at being in front of camera.
Yeah. Also, I don't do video.
You don't?
Not really.
Have you done TVC, the camera?
Yeah, but I wasn't supposed to look at the camera.
True, because
I was
the
a DJ.
camera not really supposed to exist.
Yeah.
In somewhat. Fair.
Yeah, episode 2. We are talking about what are we talking?
What did they put in that coffee?
We
What's
didn't
in
even
the coffee?
drink it yet. Hi.
Again.
Episode 2, we are talking about living abroad.
Yay!
Yes. Finally, we got to the topic. So, we've seen a lot of people lately, especially our friends, thinking about moving outside of Thailand. And a lot of you already live outside of Thailand too, so we can talk about how it is here a little bit too without getting, arrested.
You know what we're talking about. Never sweat.
So, as two people who have basically grown up abroad, we thought that we might just give a little input on how it is and how we heard it is right now for adults as well. Because it's a little bit different, of course, if you're there with your family compared to considering moving there and starting a new life yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we start with you then?
Okay, we can do that. So as I have mentioned in both episode 0 and episode 1, I spent about 7 years in Australia, Sydney, to pursue my education. So I graduated year 9 in Thailand, so I was about 16. And then I decided to move to Sydney. Luckily for me, I am the youngest one in the family, Chinese family as well. So I have a lot of siblings and cousins and whatnot. So the older ones, they have previously studied in Sydney as well. So we actually do own an apartment. So, it's just almost like a generational thing where the oldest one went and then my sister, which is 6 years apart, they went, and then me as the last generation. So it's a lot easier for me to kind of just go there because we already have a place to live in. And then I spent about 1 extra year to learn English over there, which basically I repeated year 9 almost. And then I joined back in year 10 in high school. And then I just continued until I finished bachelor degree. Yeah.
What did you study?
Well, wait, what did I study?
Wasn't it music?
No, I actually did not study music. I went to music school, but I did not study music. I just got completely mind blank of what I studied, the actual name of it.
Wasn't music management?
Business and entertainment management. That is the full name of it. It sounds very fancy. And of course, this kind of course is not available in Thailand. Basically, what the course is about is you can work anywhere in the music industry after you kind of, finish this degree, or except the musician themselves. So the course is going to teach you finance, economics, marketing, artist management, like all those kind of stuff, like how you make money as the manager. Yeah. And then I kind of came back, did not use anything that I've learned. Not entirely, but yeah.
Yeah, you did have a internship, I remember.
I did have internship in
that kind of like played into that.
Yeah, I did internship in a music label in Thailand. The reason that I don't find it like, what's called adapt as well, because the way that the entertainment industry works, especially music, is completely different between Thailand and Australia. Yeah, what about you?
So basically, I grew up in Sweden. So I was born there, and I stayed there, like I lived there until I was around 14. It was actually my mom who moved to Sweden after meeting my dad. My dad was a backpacker. So he and my mom worked at a hotel at that time as a receptionist. So my dad fell in love with my mom, and he was like, "You want to come back to Sweden with me?" And it was like, "Sure."
That's a very adventurous move.
It was, yeah. She had never left the country before that, so
the balls.
It was a very brave step for her. So she went. My dad actually went back first, and then my mom followed afterwards. It was the first time she ever been on an airplane.
Wow.
The first time she ever traveled outside of the country. She knew English, but it's different when you move, when you go outside of the country.
Yeah, so you usually just know enough to get through the work, not to live abroad. Yeah.
Yeah. So she went to Sweden, and I believe she started learning Swedish as soon as she got there. And she learned pretty quickly from what I remember. She attended classes and such. She took up a job. And then about a year later, I was born.
That's actually very impressive. That's very impressive.
She's amazing. Shout out to mom. You're so cool. I think she's happy to be back here though right now. I mean, family's here. And I know she considers my Swedish side her family too, but her mom is here, my grandma.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Everything. Yeah, she has not to get into too much into what mom is doing, but she has a little plot of land where she grows fruits and stuff right now, and she's having really fun. She got some ducks.
Nice.
Yeah.
So as for that, I've heard you and your mom talk in Swedish. Well, basically you talk to your family in Swedish rather than English.
Yeah. So I think that because I was born pretty soon after she moved there. She was there for 15 years. So compared to that amount, I was born basically straight after the year after she arrived. So she was still trying to learn Swedish. So I think that the way that she practiced Swedish was to talk with me.
Right.
Because it's more comfortable. I didn't know how to speak fully too, and she could practice different words with me and stuff like that.
Got it.
So I didn't actually grow up speaking Thai, unfortunately. It was quite difficult for me to get into learning Thai as well, which is why I'm still not very good. I was kind of only not forced by anybody, but I forced myself into it when I moved out around 17, 18.
Okay.
When I moved up here to Bangkok, by myself.
For university?
Yes.
Right.
So, but before that, yeah. So I kind of took some Thai classes when I grew a little bit older and stuff like that. Not that interesting. I was really bad at it, and yeah. But I went to school, a public school in Sweden, and then we would come to Thailand once a year if we could.
Right.
Every other year if we weren't able to go the previous year. So I came here sometimes for a week or two.
So you're pretty familiar with what's going on in Thailand.
Yeah, so it wasn't a big culture shock when I moved here because I knew about stuff and the culture and everything. And my mom even though I didn't learn the language that fast, she was very insistent on teaching me like Thai culture, which is why a lot of people say that I act like a Thai person, but I look like a foreigner.
I remember you showed me your picture in Sweden where you dress up in a Thai dress.
Did I?
Right?
I mentioned it.
I'm not sure if you showed me, but you definitely did mention that. So
yeah.
you're
So
kind of
like,
slowly absorbing the Thainess
yeah.
since young.
Yeah, because I mean, in Sweden specifically, there's a lot of Thai people. Like a lot. They have like Thai communities there. So, which is good for my mom too, because like she had like a little friend group. Usually in small towns too, you will be able to find Thai people, which is really nice. And almost everybody can speak fluent Swedish.
That's so cool.
That's like, I feel like almost everybody who moves to Sweden learns Swedish pretty quickly. It's not like Swedish people don't speak English, but you get so much more from living there if you can speak Swedish, you know?
Yeah.
Because people are not really like, we can get into that later, like the whole other and discrimination thing. But for tourists and stuff, people are not like unwelcome of tourists. People like, you know, like, oh, you speak English. Like, oh, I'll just speak English back to you.
That's cool.
Yeah, but you won't feel like you're part of the community until you actually learn Swedish.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of them learn really quickly.
So does that mean like Sweden itself as a country kind of bilingual inherently?
Yeah, so we learn English in school, just like here. Why are you smiling?
The difference of like...
The little...
Yeah. Well, for those who, you know, study in Thailand, you know, the education system in here is not the best, especially the English.
I think, I mean, so in Thailand, people usually, you study English, right? And then you can choose to study, usually you can choose, but sometimes, most of the time you study Chinese as well. So we have that as well, not for Chinese, but we can choose between Spanish, French, and German, I believe it is.
What?
Yeah, so there's like those 3 languages you can choose to take in middle school.
Oh, in Sweden?
Yeah.
Right. I thought,
yeah,
I thought
like
you
in Sweden,
meant,
sorry.
Okay.
So in Sweden, it's like that, but like instead of Chinese, it's those 3 languages. The way that people learn English here is basically the same as Swedish people learning those 3 languages in Sweden. Like nobody really cares, I guess.
But you kind of know.
Like you learn like how to say like, this is a cat. And like, hello, my name is.
Hola.
Hola. Bonjour. Poisson.
Qui habla español?
Baguette.
Just casually shit on like other language.
No, like I love baguettes.
Oh, I love, yeah.
It's French people send me baguettes. Anyway, so I think the reason why Swedish people learn English so fast is because people over there consume a lot of English media. So like the movies and stuff is very Hollywood oriented. And I think that also it's because a lot of Swedish celebrities are in the Hollywood scene.
Right. So
not only for like movies, but also for music as well.
Right. So that's, I assume that kind of motivates people to, you know, consume even more.
Yeah. It's been a lot more lately, but I think that even back then when I was younger, when I was young,
oh, wow.
There was a lot of like Swedish actors and stuff like that in the US. So it just kind of naturally bled into the culture in Sweden.
Right.
The culture is very different though. I can talk about that later maybe, but like I'll talk about Sweden in detail later when we get to it.
Okay.
But yeah, so people can speak English basically is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Cool.
But you will be a lot more accepted if you speak Swedish.
Right. Because I feel like there's always a barrier, especially if the country can speak, you know, more than one languages. I mean, even in Thailand, even though it can speak English, you know, and everything, but there'll always be this certain phrase or, expression where it delivers much better if it was, spoken in another language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of that too, so while Swedish people can speak English, they're not fluent in it like that. Like if you talk to a British person and if you talk to a Swedish person in English, like it's so easy to tell the difference. When I moved here, I went to a English program school, so it wasn't completely international, but it was mostly classes in English, right?
Right.
So I remember when I was doing the like a class to catch up with my peers, I was talking to the teacher, and then there's like a phrase in Swedish that's kind of like skip something. It means like skip something, but we literally call it, if you translate directly, to jump over something.
Okay.
Like actual jump. So I was talking to my teacher, and I remember this very clearly because I was like, why is she confused? So I was saying like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to just jump over this. And like, he was like, you're gonna jump over, you're gonna
like physically jump over.
Yeah, like this. And I was like, no, like jump. And like, I never sold it until like years later when I was like, it's, people don't say that.
It's a Swedish thing that uses English to express. I see it.
It's a very minor thing, but it's a lot of things like that that doesn't translate that easily, even though it's like both the languages are from Europe.
I mean, a lot of Thai slangs nowadays also relies heavily on English. Like, imagine, we just cut out the entire thing, just have one syllables left. Yeah, there's a lot more, but that's the only examples I could come up with now. So English is slowly
seeping into the culture, or like the youth culture here. Yes. Same as Japan.
Yeah. And Hong Kong people.
But Hong Kong has always been kind of bilingual.
True, because the
whole history of that.
Yes. Yeah,
it's not like Hong Kong is completely different, I would say.
Fair. I mean, even though they have their own language, Canto.
Yeah.
There were so many times where I could understand what my friend was talking about, even though they didn't speak, English. The keyword that they use is just all in English. It's like, oh right, he meant this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny sometimes to like.
Yeah, similar to Singaporean.
Singaporeans,
right?
They speak English, but like
with a Singaporean
with attitude.
With attitude.
Yes.
English with attitude.
Correct.
Welcome to Singapore. Yeah. Where was I?
So you kind of moved to Thailand.
Yeah.
And then to uni. You didn't speak Thai until you were like.
Yeah. So like when I was like 18, and even then I wasn't really good because I went to I was privileged enough to go to an international school for uni. So even then I would just, kind of speak English with everybody because I was comfortable with that already. And then there's, it's hard to get out of your comfort zone in general. So it wasn't until I had to go and actually like, buy food or like go to the bank or talk to like condo office people or like talk to people on the street that I actually had to learn how to use Thai in like a daily situation. I'm still not good at like, like if I'm gonna read a book, I can't really read it properly. It takes me probably like a few months to finish a book because the language used in writing is not really similar
always different.
to talking. It's the same in every language.
Yeah. I almost failed English class when I was there. Just purely because my writing is completely atrocious. Yeah.
The way you speak and the way you write, like you specifically, is very different.
I basically write how I speak, which is not
That's true.
great.
Okay, so I take that back. You because the way that you speak English is like you use tone that are correct.
Mm-hmm.
So like naturally it sounds correct.
Mm-hmm.
But if you break it down in a sentence,
Grammatically, it's so incorrect.
yeah, but it works because you sound fluent.
Yeah. Like I had a few, friends who thought I was studying like a normal English class. So they were, the school over there in Australia, in Sydney, or at least my school, they have a ESL program, which is English as a second language. And there's like, advanced extension 1 and 2, which is even more advanced. And so they thought I was doing those kind of the normal stuff. And she was like, dude, I'm ESL. I just moved here like not that long ago. They're like, what?
You're very good at copying sounds and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just very good at copying in general.
Yes.
Yes.
Every time he speaks Swedish with me, I'm just like,
I just have like this very, I don't know, the ability of me copying in general, if it's like, actions or movements or other languages. If my body is physically capable, I would try to do it, and it would almost always comes out acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of this has not really been useful to you guys.
No, it's not at all.
But just giving you a backstory on how we ended up with this topic.
Yes.
And why I have a Swedish accent that came out just then. When we choose this topic. Yeah, I mean, if you want to move to a different country, it's not easy, especially with like the money situation.
It's not.
Especially for Thai people right now, unfortunately, because of the passports.
It's not just right now. It's just usually if you show that you have Thai passport, almost always you are required to get visa, and you'll be checked more thoroughly.
Yeah,
because they considered you as the third world country.
Yeah, that and specifically, like there's been a history, unfortunately, of people going to do illegal work.
Just
like,
left bad impressions on other countries.
Yeah, and people like they're worried that that's gonna happen, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, so it makes it a little bit difficult, or a lot more difficult to be able to, go to other countries. I'm lucky to have a Swedish passport, so I can travel more easily. But yeah, so you need a visa.
Most of the time, yes, you do need a visa. If you're holding a Thai passport, there are certain exceptions. Like, say, if you go to China, I think you are doing it on the spot, which is like once you landed, then you do your visa over there. I think Japan kind of allows Thai people to just go in without having to do visa for quite a while because
the relation,
the economical reasons. But yeah, apart from that, I think you are required to do some visa, and it's quite costly.
It is. I know that especially for EU, so the European Union, it's very difficult to get a visa.
It's even more annoying that the Brexit happened. So if you were to go to, Europe and you wanted to visit London, so you have to do 2 separate passports, which is one is Schengen visa and one is just British visa.
Yeah.
Because I did that a few years back and it was just,
and for Australia, it's like a whole different visa.
Yeah, like usually each country will have their own like visa system as well, right? Where like, what they require and whatnot. So from my experience, Australia visa, you would need to get a health check to see if you don't fly in with like some kind of disease or other defects and stuff. You would need the reasons to go there. So if you are attending school, then you would need to print out your acceptance letter from your school. as use as evidence. You would need to provide what's called financial statement.
Yeah.
To show them that you can actually survive there for like about, I don't know how long you're staying there, but usually
it depends.
Like at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Without having an issue. And if you don't, you'd likely get rejected, or you would then need to find someone to sponsor, or how you're going to get money.
Mm-hmm.
Because for student visa in Australia, there are two types. So the first one is you can't do any part-time jobs at all, and you are required to be full-time only.
Full-time student.
Yeah, I'll get into that later. And the second one is that you can do part-time job, but it's a lot less compared to the locals. So, let's say you could do 100 hours as a local. You can only do like maybe like 50 as student visa.
Mm-hmm.
Going off a little tangent, you are required to be full-time thingy. I did not know that. So when I was in uni, I did this kind of a college. As I said, I didn't go to like a proper uni, like Sydney University or New South Wales. So instead of 3 years or 4 years, mine get completed within 2 years. So they crammed everything into like, one, like within 2 years, rather 4. I had to do like 7 subjects per trimester. So we split into trimester as well. So which is a lot. So imagine you have to do like 2,000, 3,000 words essay, and it's like 7 of them due within like the same week.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. So I decided to be a part-time for the longest time. And then I got contacted by a international students department, which I did not know existed. 1 year later, I joined, them. Like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that. It's actually illegal. And they have all the rights to deport me back. So I was like, I'm sorry, what? Then who allowed me when I applied for this?
Yeah.
So it's like their fault as well. But then they're kind of like blaming it on me for not knowing this. It's like, I didn't even know you guys exist. Turns out the head of department for my faculty is being absolute legend. He just signed me off. It's like, yep, I allowed it. It's fine.
Usually you won't be that lucky.
No. This guy's really cool.
Yeah, it's from what I know from the Schengen visa. So you don't need to do any health check if you're just visiting, but like working is a different story.
Right.
But you need to. The biggest issue that most people have is the finance check. I think you need to get like, if you're only visiting there, you need to get basically a letter from your boss saying that you work there. And then you need a statement showing your salary. And then...
Is it like 3 months prior to the date that you're applying? I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
To show that you have like a stable income.
Yeah. And the issue is that usually when you buy a ticket, you will buy it like, sometimes you don't buy it that far ahead.
No.
So if you buy it and then you apply for the visa, you might get rejected.
Yep.
And then you can't get your money back.
And to apply visa, you need a ticket first.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right.
You need a ticket first in order to apply for visa. And usually if you go there to visit, you need to tell them as well where you're gonna stay. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it needs to be like an address.
Yeah, it's just the whole ordeal of that.
It's a pain.
Yes, it is.
But I know for the easiest way to actually live in another country, especially in Europe right now, is to get sponsored by a job. Or if you're a student, or if you're like you still want to study, you can get a scholarship and then do some kind of, I believe you're able to do part-time work in Europe, but I'm not entirely sure. You need to check that out before you do that. But
take our words as a grain of salt.
Yeah. Don't take our words as a grain of salt.
See, this is why.
Don't take our words as a grain of salt. we are but sugar. No salt, please. Yeah. We don't know anything.
We know nothing.
We know nothing. Anyway. Hate you. Scholarship is the easiest way, but that would mean you would have to go back. If you're already out of school, you would have to go back into uni and somehow find a program to do like some kind of exchange or some kind of like work and travel, work and study kind of deal. There's a lot of programs right now that do that. So you have to look around and see. However, I know that for most of these out of school programs, you do have to pay first before you go.
Oh yeah.
So you have to like put down a deposit first. So you can't really, pull out. And so you need to have that chunk of money first before you can actually do those.
Because it's basically what you're paying is for like admin fee as well to like, they'll find you like tickets and whatnot.
Yeah.
So the money is kind of essential for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about money in the end.
Yeah. Another way that if, you want to go travel is to contact like flight booking agency to create like a booking, like a fake booking for you. And then you can like kind of move it to a later date. So at least you would have a, booking info to show your...
When you apply for the visa.
Correct.
Yeah, that's quite difficult.
Yeah, but
to do. Also, it's possible.
Yeah. Like as in if you don't want to look for a scholarship or whatnot, it is possible to do that as well.
So let's say that you don't want to go back to school and you don't really have the finances to put down that deposit for either work and travel or for the working visa. Honestly, the only way, well, there's another way too, but the most honest way to do it would probably be to just get it through your job.
Yeah.
But then you need to find a company that will be willing to do that for you. Or if you have the expertise, you can apply for jobs in your country of choice and then try to prove to them that you're worth sponsoring to go to that country.
On that note though, you can actually go onto like the immigration website of that said country. And then usually there are lists of needed jobs.
In the immigration?
Yeah. Because I checked that one for Australia as well. There are like some obnoxious thing like farmer or like something like an operator of some kind of machine. So
interesting.
Just scroll through it.
Yeah.
Like scuba diver, instructor, those kind of stuff.
Yeah. I will say though that in Sweden right now, it is very hard to find a job. I don't know what happened, but I guess it's because like Sweden have opened up a lot in the recent years. So for a very self-sufficient country, self-sustaining country, it is very hard to find just, easy jobs. So, we have like self-checkout almost everywhere now. We don't really do like, even like cleaning services and stuff. It's only for bigger halls. So like for event halls and such, or for elderly homes. But yeah, I've heard from my friends back there that it is basically impossible to find a job unless you're like already in the career. There. Yeah.
Right. It's quite similar as I don't have this experience well, I do have like a little bit of it. So for a person to find a job over in Sydney, at least, um, having permanent residence and just on, temporary visa, it's make a whole lot of difference. So to get, a job, if you're on a temporary visa, by the time the company finish the training program for you, your visa is probably out. So the company has to pay for your visa in order to, hire you. So most of the time, they would rather get someone else who has like,
the same experience.
Yeah, the same
such.
experience, a very similar level, and they don't have to pay for that.
Yeah, like as a company, it doesn't really make sense to get somebody in when they can get it locally.
Yeah.
So it has to be a position, unfortunately, that is like
super
your
expertise in.
Yeah, you're better than other people there,
Yeah.
basically. So usually there would be like doctors, or if it's a specific company, I know that they do like really experienced managers and such. They will sometimes get them in from other countries.
And even right now, it's everything can be done kind of online as well, like consulting and everything. So unless you have to be there physically, it's very difficult to get jobs. Because Australia, it's actually an exporting country. They're exporting like, educations. That's what it is. Basically, a lot of people around the world kind of go to Australia to study. And trying to find a job there. Meanwhile, the people in Australia trying to get out because we are influenced by the Americans. So, of course, we would want to, go somewhere bigger out of this island, a giant island. Yeah.
Australia is very big, and it has a lot of different like terrain or like different things to see, but it still feels very small.
The only habitable places, like the ratio wise, it's probably like not even 30%.
That's true.
Habitable.
That's true.
That's
I would say
sad.
that it's different for Sweden. I would say a lot of people who grew up there want to say that because I think the mindset is very different.
Right.
So of course there are people who they grow up and they feel like, oh, Sweden is too boring. I want something more exciting. I want something bigger. I was meant to do something,
I was born to be a star.
I was born to be a star. So usually they would, I know from my friends, they usually either move to London or they move to the US. But because those people already move out very young, the people who are left there usually just take out a local job. The thing is, like, people don't really look for excess in Sweden, if that makes sense. People, from what I understood when I was younger at least, very much look for that, standard.
Like a peaceful life.
Peaceful life, like a nice house, a nice spouse, and then have some kids, and then like maybe a pet, and then, a good job, and maybe they can travel to Greece or Thailand every year.
Why specifically Greece and Thailand?
It's like a thing. It's a thing.
It's a cultural thing?
It's a cultural thing. It's either Greece or Thailand.
What?
People from Sweden knows what I'm talking about. Especially if you're like an older person in Sweden, you would go to the Maldives.
Is it like Thailand with Japan? Or Korea right now?
Yeah. It's basically that.
Right.
But most of the time, people just go to, lay on the beach and get tan.
Which bring us to the money issue, like the income.
Yeah. So the thing is that the people in Sweden can have that mindset because the money that you get from your salary is, just enough for that. You can have some savings as well, and you can splurge on food and you can get some nice clothes. We don't really have the whole there's fashion in Sweden, right? But it's not like, how do I explain this? Parisian fashion is very similar. I think a lot of people have seen like Scandinavian fashion where it's very minimal and you just get like statement pieces that can last in a capsule wardrobe.
Like a timeless piece.
Yeah. So people like those kind of thing. And it's very neutral tone as well. So if people are into fashion, then that's usually what they go for.
Right.
But if you go somewhere other than Stockholm and Gothenburg, even in Gothenburg, it's a little bit like people don't really care. People are dressed nicely, but it's mostly like function.
Right.
Because it's cold.
Functional form.
It's cold like most of the time.
Is it true that 99% of the house in Sweden consist of IKEA furnitures?
I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
Because, the quality is pretty good for the price.
Yeah.
I think it's even cheaper here in Thailand than it is in Sweden, but I'm not sure.
That's weird.
Yeah, a lot of the furniture is from this.
Like made in China kind of thing?
Yeah.
Fair.
I don't know about the factory stuff with IKEA, but at least when I was growing up, everybody had IKEA in their house. That was before it went international though.
This is IKEA.
This is IKEA. That's IKEA.
Everything's IKEA.
I think that's it. That flower right there.
Is it a basket as well?
Yeah, that one. Anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the minimum wage in Sweden?
I think it was around, in Thai baht, it's around 500 baht per hour. I think it also depends on the company you're working for. I don't know exactly the law around the minimum wage.
Okay.
But I heard that it has to do with the what's it called? The work union.
Like those kind of thing that the countries sign up for.
Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Yeah. So like, it's a lot of rules around it with like welfare and like insurance and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only like you get this much and then.
So as a part-time in Thailand, you get about 500 baht per day.
Yeah.
Of like 8 hours.
That's the minimum. Yeah.
That's not the minimum.
It's not the minimum?
No.
I thought that was the law.
No. I think it's like 340 something baht per day in Thailand. But yeah, in Bangkok, usually you get 500 baht working as a part-time.
Mm.
And there's no way in hell that would cover the traveling expenses or food expenses. It can, but like you would get the lowest possible options of almost everything to have any money left afterwards. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's also the 8 hours we're talking about is 8 hours, not including 1 hour break.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like a 9-hour workday.
Yeah.
With 1 hour break, which is usually not, a proper break.
Yeah, like within like 1 hour, other countries gonna get more. I think that's same as Australia.
Similar to
as well.
Australia.
Yeah.
Similar to the US too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not very knowledgeable about the moving to US and stuff like that.
I've never been to US.
I've never been to US too.
I'm kind of scared.
Me too. Sorry, US people. Just a little bit scary as a European person. But
Am I gonna get punched in the face?
No, people are really like the thing I'm scared about with the US isn't really that culture. It's like I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but at least in Sweden and I know a lot of other European countries, we are very reserved in like in the social aspect. So like when it comes to like, art and like nudist beaches, we're very free. But when it comes to social aspects, we're very reserved. So whenever I meet, I'm like used to it now, because I'm living in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I would meet an American person as a kid, it would be very frightening for me. Very, very frightening for me. Like, this is a stereotype though, because like I know I haven't met that many people from the US, like in real life, but there's so much energy like packed into one body, and this like nonstop, and I'm just like,
and they approach you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's also another thing. So I heard that walking down the street in the US, people would just say hi to you randomly.
I've seen so many videos of that.
Yeah. Why do you do that? Don't say hi to me.
Like, don't say hi and just, ignore what I'm going to reply to you.
Don't say hi to me at all.
So even in Australia, when so I say like, you go to the bar or something like, hey, how you going? And when I reply, I was like, oh, like great, what about you? And it's just like,
I had that too.
For like split second. I was like, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, I had that too when I was in Australia, but I was only there for like a couple of weeks. But I remember the first few days I was there, I went to the supermarket. And of course, like people say like, how you doing? But that means like hi.
Yeah. It's not how you doing. Hey, gone.
Yeah.
Hey, gone.
Hey, gone. So the cashier said that to me. And I was like, oh. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's like they're being friendly to me, Like I'm like, I don't even know. Probably like 15, 16. And I'm like, oh, they're being friendly to me. Okay, like don't get awkward teenager, like just say like, just like speak normally. And I'm like, hi, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. How are you doing? And she looks at me like,
what is wrong with
this? What is wrong with you? And then she doesn't say anything and just like
left you hanging.
Continues packing my stuff. And then like, oh yeah, there will be this much.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what did I do wrong? And then I realized that you're not actually supposed to answer like that. You just say like, how you doing back?
Yeah.
How going?
Yeah.
How you going?
How you going?
Yeah. You say it back.
Yeah.
And then nobody says how they're doing.
Unless like you say something after that, then the conversation starts. But usually it just stops there.
I heard it is quite rude to continue the conversation.
Is it? Wait, what?
I heard that some people get like, not like upset, but they're like, now I have to actually talk.
Yeah.
So like, especially if you say you're not doing well and then you like go on a rant. They're like, I didn't actually mean to start a conversation.
Well, don't greet with that word then. Just say hi or hello.
Yeah. I mean, I could handle, I guess it's different because I haven't been to the US, but based on like the people, I was more relaxed in Australia, around Australian people. I think it's also because I spent most of the time in Melbourne. So it's a lot of Asian people there.
I mean, it's a lot of Asians in general in Australia.
True.
Well, not the west side.
I went to Perth too.
Yeah, there's not that many Asians.
Yeah,
there.
Compared to Melbourne and Sydney, yeah, you're right.
I've heard a lot of things over there.
It's just a town.
The flies.
Oh yeah.
Giants. They're different breeds.
They are in like, because I went to AS Rock as well.
What?
AS Rock?
What's that? Wait, what's that?
The Red Rock that Australia is famous for.
Oh, Uluru?
AS Rock.
It's Uluru.
Isn't it? It's AS Rock. Isn't it called that?
Like the middle of Australia, yeah?
Yeah?
We call it Uluru. That's a indigenous language.
Okay, but
look it up. Because I've never heard any being referenced as that name before.
Okay, I'm not like going crazy. It's the same thing.
Ah, I never knew that it has second name.
Yeah, the fake name. AS Rock.
Interesting.
Yeah, I went there.
Okay.
And the flies are huge and they don't stop.
They would punch your face with their head.
They do. And we didn't realize this. And then like so there's two types of Australian guides that you will meet if you go into the desert in Australia. So one of them has like this little hat and he has like a net so they can talk normally.
Right.
And just
so it's
like
a beehive. So
it's like a beehive thing, but like just like a net. And flies don't get to their face. And then you have the people who just like don't care. And they talk and I'm like looking at them like, how are you not like eating like 10 flies right now? Because it's everywhere. And you're just like, yeah, anyway, like this and this and this and this and that. And I'm like staring at him while like going like this. Like,
it's the awesomeness that prevents the flies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It doesn't disturb them.
Nope.
It's amazing. I wish I could. But yeah.
Yeah. If you ever heard of, the rumors about Australia are filled with bugs, it's true. Never in my life I've seen a spider with the size of my hand. And my hand's not small. Like the body itself is like, like that size. And like the legs itself just... Luckily it's not venomous. It's not dangerous. It's just,
It's just big.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it the hairy one?
Yeah.
Tarantula?
No.
Those are hairy.
No. Because we have other name. Like basically it's the house spider. It could eat cockroaches for you. It's that big.
I don't know which one it is.
Something hunter. I could be wrong. I'll put the picture around here.
Should you do? A lot of people are scared of spiders.
I'll put a small one. I'll put a name on it.
Disclaimer.
I'll put a name on it. If you wanna, look it up.
Like good. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, the Asians.
Yes. Before that, what were we talking about?
How you went to Melbourne.
Before that, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Wow. The most organized podcast ever.
Yes. I have a very short attention span, by the way, if you hadn't figured out by now.
America.
Yes, America.
America. Fuck yeah. I would love to go though. Someday in the future when I'm like emotionally ready. Please don't say hi to me. You can like look, and then if I look over, you can like wave, but don't be like walking like past me and go like, "Hi, have a nice day," and I'm like, "Who are you?"
Oh yeah. On that note, what's up with catcalling?
Yeah, that happens everywhere though.
Oh yeah, actually, I got catcalled once by this
the aunties.
Thai auntie sitting in a bar.
It happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In Sweden too. But like at least like in Sweden, I know that like, oh, these guys are just being assholes. Like, I don't know what to do. Like if somebody's trying to talk to me, I'm like, because in my head, because I'm like, maybe it's because I'm wired now to think that like, oh no, they're trying to flirt with me. Oh no, like what do I do? This is stranger danger.
Yep.
So anytime somebody talks to me this way, I get like really nervous.
It's a flight or fight situation.
Yes. Fight or flight situation.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Run. But yeah. Swedish people don't really do that. We can be kind of difficult to make friends in Sweden as well. So usually you would get to know people through other friends. If you're in school, it's easier because you can just, talk to your classmates. Or if you're working, you can just talk to your co-workers. But you wouldn't really go up to people on the street.
Right.
It's like people will talk to you, but they won't be happy about it most of the time.
They will oblige.
Yeah, they'll be like, how dare you? But like, they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I can help you find your way or whatever. They'll be very happy to like help tourists. But if you're trying to start a conversation, like, please don't do that. Please just leave people alone.
That's very rude.
Yeah, it's you're wasting their time. People are probably going somewhere.
And their social energy.
Yeah, so usually even if you go to bars, I guess it depends. So if it's like a sitting down bar, usually you wouldn't really mingle that much. You could, but it will definitely be seen as like, oh, we're gonna hook up.
Oh wow. Like
yeah. You wouldn't really like just go to another table.
Like, I mean, that's pretty similar to Thailand as well.
Yeah. So you wouldn't really just go and sit down and have a conversation with somebody in a bar. However, if you see Swedish tourists in Thailand, for example, that's totally fine.
Because they're mentally prepared to mingle.
They're like, oh, we're on holiday. This is not Sweden. So yeah. But even like if you go to the subway, you don't really look at people. I don't know how to describe this. So it's not like you're like standing like this, but you can't just like look at people. Like if you're standing around and you're like looking at somebody like this,
I mean, that's
very rude.
I mean, it's not normal to just stare at people.
I feel like it is here though.
It is?
I feel like everybody's staring all the time here.
I never noticed that.
Like next time, like when we would just walk outside, sometimes people would just be like looking.
Right.
And that's not really that normal in Sweden.
I mean, considering how we dress, this is also not normal.
I guess, but even then, like you can walk around with the silliest outfit in like town square. There's like cosplay events and stuff. And people are just like, oh, it's their business,
It's
you
normal.
know? Yeah, it's their business. So if somebody stares at you, usually in Sweden, they're either meaning to be rude, like they're doing it on purpose, or they're on some kind of drug.
Sexual predator.
Could be like, so you just stare at people because you look funny, you know?
I never noticed that actually about, aspect in Thailand.
I think it's because I moved when I was very young too, and because I'm a halfie.
Wait, are you?
Surprise! Because I'm a halfie, I think that a lot of people find like, halfie kids cute. So they'd be like, oh my God, like a kid. Also, there's another thing in Thailand. So sorry to go on a tangent, but people just leave their kids with people here.
Oh, yeah.
Like in stores and stuff. Like, that would never happen in Sweden.
I mean, it's a very Thai thing to do this, or at least Southeast Asia. I don't know. We just have that trust to each other, I guess.
Yeah, which is good, but it was very weird to me as a kid because
in this day and age, it's not that safe. And this concept doesn't work in Western world.
Not really. It's not because you can't trust people, but it's because like people, I guess, don't like kids as much. I don't know how to say this, but of course they like kids. But it's like they're usually so. Sorry, let me start from the beginning. What happens here is that you will go into a store, usually a department store, and the staff will actually go up to the kid and they will be like, "Oh my God, your kid is so cute. Like, what's your name? Oh, this and this and that," and then start to play with the kid, like during work hours, which is fine. Like that's nice of them and stuff. That wouldn't really happen in Sweden, at least. Maybe they will go up and like play with the kid, but it will be like, look at this product. Don't you want it?
It's tricking you.
Yeah. And it's also like, nobody's really working in retail to be a babysitter.
True. That's very fair.
So that's why it's kind of seen as more rude to do that, I guess.
And usually like we unintentionally talk in a condescending way as well. So that's kind of like we don't feel it as Thai people until someone pointed out. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like they never really do that, and then we just kind of do it all the time. Like going back to when you came here, you were younger. They're like, oh my God, like when you're trying to speak Thai, those kinds of stuff. They just like laugh at you, like in a cutesy way, like like oh my God, look at this girl, it's so cute. Trying to just like the way she pronounced everything, but usually that's not how it appears to be for the Westerns. So can you explain that?
Yeah, so this is kind of the reason why I never got as good in Thai, because it's like a mental thing. But I don't want to go too much into like psychology. But I'm more used to it now, of course, because I've been here for like more than 10 years. Hello, motorbike. So Thai people are very smiley. Like they're very happy.
We're a land of smile.
Land of smiles. That's the slogan of Thailand. So like that really applies. So when they're praising you and stuff as a kid. So a lot of my relatives would like, come up to me and be like, oh, ha ha ha, you're so cute, ha ha ha. And then like, because I wasn't really that understanding of the language as well, I just hear like them laughing at me, especially when I would speak Thai. So as a kid, usually you would actually try to do new stuff. So I would actually try to speak with them and like communicate. And in response, I would just get laughed. So to me, that was like in my brain. It was just like, oh no, they're laughing at me. I'm saying it wrong. I'm like, I'm a joke. So that kind of wired my brain into thinking like, oh, every time I speak Thai, I'm going to get laughed at.
Yeah, but that's most of the time not the case for us Thai people. We understand. And they're like, oh, they're being cutesy. And it's like, but yeah.
That's just like one thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a nice thing that people are,
kind of laughed it off.
Yeah, they're laughing it off and they're trying to encourage the kids to do stuff. But it doesn't really happen in the same way in other countries. So yeah, that's a thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Should we cover like how like education system works over there?
Yeah, because we were talking about visas, but I think that the best way to find out about visas is to actually do the research on different websites. Like there are many different websites talking specifically about Thai visas for other countries. So yeah, just Google it.
Yep. Right. So you moved here when you're 14. Do you find any major differences in terms of education system?
Yeah, it was, I say this a lot, but it felt like going into almost high school. The system here is a little bit different. So you're actually like in middle school until you finish high school, basically. So it's like the same kind of chunk. Anyway, so I was going into high school when I arrived, like after a year or two. So I had already gone through the whole middle school thing in Sweden. And to me, it felt almost like middle school in Sweden is high school in Thailand. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the maturity level was very, very different. So the things that I felt like I had already gone through back in Sweden was happening all over again in high school in Thailand.
That lasted for like, what, 3 years?
Yeah. And then when I went to university, it felt like how I felt like high school would be in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
I think it's probably because of the whole individualism in Sweden. So you're kind of forced to grow up faster over there.
Right.
Because you're kind of expected to like move out when you're 16. Yeah. So we don't have the whole like generational thing where you have to like, take care of your parents when they get old. You, of course, people do that, but it's not like expected of you. And in turn, you don't really get supported financially when you are in your early 20s or even like during uni. So most people will pick up a job by that time. So that's why, I guess that's why everything's kind of like pushed back compared to here. So yeah, so like the whole gossip thing and stuff you see in like, I guess American movies as well in high school is kind of what uni is here.
Right, got it.
Yeah. But then the whole like first love and like, like crushes or like little start of dramas and like like starting to find your own self happens in high school here, while usually happens in middle school in Sweden. So that was a thing socially. The whole education part of it is also very different. I think that because school in Sweden is free, like completely free, people don't really care about it that much. People just go to school. because it's like taboo to not go to school. Why wouldn't you go to school? You know, it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's no like uniform or anything like that. So it's not as much of a system as it is here. I would say you just go to school to like, you know, get your grades and be able to get into the high school that you want. Here, it is very much a competition.
It's a compulsory and competition to attend school.
Yes. So there are public schools here, but the level of education that you get from public schools compared to a private school here is just it's very concerningly big.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate, because then it means that people who can't really pay for private school, they don't get to have a chance to get that education unless they get a scholarship, you know. But even then, it's very hard to socially fit into a private school.
On the tangent, not quite, but on this topic. So the government, our current government, is trying to implement a system where they are forcing private schools to have the same like what's called like syllabus, like bullet points or like programs as the public school. At first they said like, you know, on the same level. So I thought like, great. So the public school can be, you know, brought up on a higher level. No, they're trying to bring the private
schools down to like the public schools kind of syllabus.
Yeah, and if you don't sign up, you'll be cut out of the whole education system.
Yeah, so like you need to be part of that system to be able to have your students be able to apply for like universities and stuff.
And we don't upgrade. We haven't upgraded some of the textbook for like 50 years as well. So
yeah, that's a thing that's going on right now. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, like, it's unfortunate that, I don't know, like private school here is very much a popularity contest, I would say.
Yep.
Also, it's still competitive where if you're a nerd, you're pretty much well off. Like, you might get bullied, but then again, like, you will get lifted up by the whole school if you get good grades.
You'll get praise.
You get praise, and the thing is, like, they separate the classes into like how good you are in school.
Yep.
So if you're really good, you would go into a class that have only good students. So you will be surrounded by people who love to study or like who are forced to study. While the bad kids are all in the same class, and you know, it's
not
kind of a mess.
Not to mention the favoritism. Yeah, favoritism of teachers.
You're right. Sorry, favoritism.
Okay, favoritism of teachers.
Yes.
So they would actually pay more attention to the good, the good student classes more than the bad students, which make things a little bit worse.
Yeah, it's just very hard for kids here. There's a lot of pressure to do well.
Yep.
The thing is, like, I think it's good to focus a lot on education. I think the Sweden don't focus as much on education as they should for kids, because it's very slack. But my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, is currently going through like the Thai educational system, and I just feel bad for her. You know, like she's forced to do a lot of studying that you would never have to do in Sweden. Like, so the thing is, here you would go to school, right? Then after school you have extra classes, and then after that, usually on the weekends and stuff, you have tutoring.
Oh yeah,
which is all like outside of school hours, and I'm just like, that would never happen in Sweden.
And here's the thing, like in your exams, the answers or like the questions that you get asked usually will be from the extra classes that you have to take outside of your school hours.
Yeah.
Or you even have to pay extra money to take those classes, which is absurd to me.
Yeah. Also, if you want to get into like university, you will need to take extra classes.
And a lot of times the persons who will be teaching you those extra classes is your own teacher from the school.
Yeah, that's true. So you have to pay the teacher. Usually they pay privately, which is, it's good for the teacher because they don't get paid a lot. The salary for teachers here is so low that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But even then, is it really the parents' responsibilities to pay the teachers directly? I don't think so, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, also another thing I would like to mention for the school system here is that I was very shocked how much Thai schools focus on formula rather than application.
Yeah.
It was very strange to me because so a test in Sweden, for example, would be that you learn the formula, but you have to learn how the formula works. So they break it down until you understand the formula. And then the question in the test would be something completely different from what you studied during class, but it will be the same formula, right? So you have to show that you can apply that formula into these numbers. But for Thai schools, especially for math, you get the formula, you get a set of numbers, you have to remember exactly that formula, and then they copy paste that onto the test.
Yep. I remember one of my science tests, I have to remember the scientific, like, not name, but the H3, those kind of stuff for chlorophyll, which I don't know why I would need to remember it.
The whole table.
Yeah, basically the Thai education system relies on your memory rather than actual understanding it and apply it to your real life.
Yeah.
When I moved to Australia, the first thing that I was being taught that I completely lost was World War II. I did not know what World War II was when I was, 16? I was like, wait, what?
It's not really taught here. The history
is
class
completely different.
It's very different. I know they do this in some other countries as well, but they kind of change the history books or like take out stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, that happens here a lot. Yeah, I mean, even in Sweden, like at least in middle school, we didn't learn a lot of history. We had history class, but it's just, general. This is the Stone Age. This is the Iron Age. This is like industrialization.
Also in Thailand, geography and history is being put together.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
And like, okay, why do we need to learn geography? Well, we kind of do, but like, why does it have to be like a proper subject? Like, how much is there to teach you about the geography?
I mean,
and they just teach you like, oh, what is tundra?
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't really, you don't have geography every single year of your student life. So you only have it for like a specific period of time.
Right.
And you learn like the capital cities of the world and whatever, and you forget it. But it's still very useful. So.
All right, that kind of makes sense. Because I can't remember like how was it, being structured.
Yeah, you don't have it every year.
But yeah, the history class is still like mind-boggling that like, okay, Thailand joined World War II, not indirectly, and we are not taught of this. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And we still claim like, we never lost war. It's like, we did. We actually did. We joined Japan.
A whole nother topic.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so people...
But yeah, another thing though that's really cool about high school overseas is, so when I joined, okay, let me tell you like how the system works in Thailand. So we have year 1 to 6 and then 7 to 12. Once you completed year 9, you're going to, wait, no. Yeah. Once you complete year 9, you are forced to choose like your, what's called, like your path.
Major. So it's like a high school major basically, but it's still in that thing.
In your school, like
they don't have like high school, they have year.
Yeah, kind of like that.
year 1 to 12.
So it's almost like a faculty within the high school kind of thing. So, but it's all fixed. So you can't choose your subject, but you can choose the group. So you can only do like science, math, or like language, those kind of
The
stuff.
language is either English Chinese or English Japanese.
Yeah, and there's like art only, and then there's like art, maths, those kind of stuff. So it's very, very, very limited.
Yeah.
To what the kids can choose.
Yeah.
And that's another part of reason why I decided to move to Australia, because I did not know what I want to do, and I find that it's absurd that that there are only like what 5 majors I can choose from. Meanwhile, I moved to Australia. I joined late year 9.
I'm very distracted by the guest trying to get in. You see it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, it's trying to get into.
It's a very big guest.
Yes.
Yeah,
sorry. Continue.
that's okay. So I joined year 9. You can do what's called not the optional, but like the ones you can choose your subjects. What's it called? You know what I mean, right?
Where you can choose
your own subject. What's it called?
Your electives.
Yes, elective. Good job.
Big brain.
So one of my first elective was R&D, research and development.
So not R&B?
No, I wish.
Not to be confused for R&B, the popular music genre.
So I got to use this workshop stations where I was, bending metals, like using like drilling holes, welding 2 pieces of iron together. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like we would never get to do this ever in Thailand.
Yeah.
Like the best thing you could do in Thailand in high school was going to a lab and you get to see like test tubes, and that's about it.
That's true. Now that you mention it, we actually, but in Sweden, it's not really an elective. It kind of is, but so we have 3 different ones, right? So we have home economics, which is like cooking and stuff, and then we have called carpentry.
Oh wow, okay.
Where you have to like make furnitures, and then we have sewing. So you have to take all 3 of them, but you can choose when you want to do it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
But that's kind of like in middle school.
Right.
So you actually learn how to make different dishes, how to like do laundry and stuff. And then when you go into carpentry, you do like, you make stuff you can actually use. It's like, I guess it supports the whole concept of a lot of Swedish people just staying in Sweden because they want to just, maybe they want to become like a carpenter or like maybe they want to make clothes or maybe they just want to, become a housewife or a house husband.
Basically like self-sustaining.
Yeah.
That's actually very cool.
Yeah. Like now that you mentioned it, I'm surprised they don't have it here.
We do, but
kinda.
So everything in Thailand, about 99%, it's all in theory. It's all like from textbook. We never really get to do it hands-on. Even in the science class, I think I've only been into labs like 3 times out of 9 years in school. And we didn't get to do like anything fancy at all. So back to Australia where, first few months in, I get to like started building metals together and just, then I got to do many other things. I got to do arts and technology, those kind of stuff. So I get to like, do Photoshops, use, I don't know, like video editing software, which I already forgot about that. What else I did? I did music as well in high school. I did Japanese, which did not turn out well. But yeah, like, one of the electives you can do is pottery, like ceramic, those kind of stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, like the options that are available for students, it's just a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's really great, in my point of view, because you are opening up, doors for the kids to
Find their interest and stuff. Yeah.
Just, like what if I was to study in Thailand, right? What would I do if just, study languages?
Yeah, I think it supports this whole, individualism in Western countries.
Not to look down on people who've done that.
No, absolutely not. Like, it's just a shame that I guess people find their interest in university here, which is why it's like the whole high school experience gets pushed up into university. But also, like, it's a give or take though, because I feel like a lot of Asian countries, including Thailand, are very like united. So like it's both good and bad, but like I feel like people have each other's backs a lot more here because it's kind of, like you study and you work.
We are very patriotic about our schools that we went.
Yes. So like you do it for the community, like you study and you work to help the country, which provided like, if you look at Japan, for example, that really like transformed the country.
Oh yeah.
And which is why it's like one of the most developed country in the world.
There's other factors that, comes into play.
True.
But
like part of it is that, then you have like stuff where people are overworking themselves over there.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it really depends. But I personally prefer the more individualism kind of way, where you are able to explore yourself and, find what you're actually interested in.
Yep.
And then have the choice to change if you find that it's not working out. Because here it's very difficult to actually change career path if you're already on it.
Yep, I completely agree. I just remember what I studied in my last year of high school.
Okay.
So English in ESL class, that's compulsory. Christianity is compulsory.
Oh yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah. I have knowledge in, in religious stuff. Not because I'm into it, but I get to make fun of it without, actually disrespecting it.
Which we're not going to do here.
I did Japanese. I did music one, so it's contemporary, nothing, fancy, Mozart. I didn't do that. I did math and biology. Very, very interesting mix of subjects together.
Because you get to do that. Like, that's possible there.
Yeah.
I went to high school in Thailand, so I didn't do any of that. But I mean, for me though, I did IGCSEs, so I got to finish a year early.
Oh, okay.
But I stayed back.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I stayed back just to chill, and like I joined some competitions for my high school as well. So I got like, I got scholarship for the last year, which is why I stayed. But yeah, so I got IGCSEs, which is not part of the Thai educational system. So I was doing it because I was preparing for university. So you can use these scores in place of a high school degree. So I was taking Thai high school. So the normal curriculum and everything like that. So technically I finished high school twice.
Right.
Because I have the Thai high school,
and the
certificate. And then I have the IGCSEs, which both, when you apply for university at least, can apply as a high school degree.
Right.
So I did that. So I got the IGCSEs and I just kind of chilled. I did my IGCSEs in English and arts.
Okay.
So that's what I used.
I just remember that one of the school in Thailand started doing the elective subject system. It's my school.
Nice.
So good job on that one. I'm not going to mention it because I might get some hate mail from revealing where I went. But yeah, I think one of the school has announced that they're going to start doing it, but then they have to figure out how the university grading system is going to work, because for the longest time we only do, as I said, the set subjects, so that would apply to the uni directly. But now that they're going to do like subject by subject, so it's going to be interesting to see how well this system going to be apply.
Yeah. So just to wrap that up a little bit, this will only apply if you're planning on having kids to go to school, because everybody mostly finished.
Right, yes. Oh yeah.
Most of the people probably finished university or high school and are not planning on continuing education. If you are, definitely look into masters and stuff. But you have to balance work and study at the same time, which can be difficult. But yeah, if you're planning on having kids in another country, you can go off of this. Other than that, let's say that you have collected a chunk of money, which will be sustainable for having a visa abroad, or you got sponsored by a company and you got to work abroad. How would it be like living and working in Australia?
Right. So, I would say it's somewhat okay-ish, but what you have to deal with a lot is that in Sydney, the CBD area, it's very overfilled. So the prices for the accommodations are being jacked up with and you get like not that good of quality places to stay, and about, I would say 80% you have to share your room or like your house with someone else, because the apartment could get ridiculously expensive. You could pay up to 1,000 Aussie dollars to $2,000 like per bi-weekly. Yeah. So we pay either bi-weekly or monthly. So it's really, really expensive to stay by yourself. But other than that, usually if you do a proper legitimate jobs, or even just part-time, or like retail jobs, it would be enough to sustain you. If you don't go off in like splurging on nightlife or like brand names and stuff, it would be enough, because there are so many times that I've seen construction worker, not even just like the dude who's wearing the neon green vest and cap and just holding a sign to tell a car go and stop. They're using a newer iPhone than I did.
Yeah, so that's also a thing. My dad is a house builder.
Bob
the builder, but not Bob. But yeah, and like it's I guess it's like the workforce thing is not as discriminatory over there, at least in Sweden. I would guess in Australia as well. So every job is kind of held at the same standards. Of course, if you're like a CEO, like a multi-million-dollar business, of course it's different. Or like if you are a doctor, it's the same thing.
But going back to like the minimum wages, as we mentioned earlier, it's enough for you to sustain your life
and travel.
Yeah, comfortably as well. So, let's say it's got like a meal, like a decent meal in Sydney. I think it's about $10 to $15 by now, because of the what's it called? The money inflation. That's the word. Probably about $15 by now, which is like a nice bowl of ramen. I use that because I go there a lot, and it was like $10. So that's translates to about, with the exchange rate right now as well, it's about 250 baht. So it's already like a lot less. I think it was 30 baht per dollar when I was there.
Okay.
So it came down like pretty much 10 baht.
Mm.
So it may appear, to be a lot of money if you were to convert to Thai baht. But if you don't really do that because, you're not living in Thailand anymore. So you're going to compare the other prices to how much you're earning as well.
Yeah, you're not using your Thai salary to pay for the living in another country.
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely need to get a job in that country.
Yeah.
It's the same in Sweden as well. From what I remember, it's quite hard to get housing as well. You probably have to share as well. Because I know even people who's finished studying university in Sweden recently, they're having a really hard time finding an apartment.
Okay.
So usually you would have to share or you have to move back with your parents. Usually people would rather share back there. But yeah, but the actual apartment is not that expensive. It's just hard to find. So I would say the average cost would be at least around 30K per month, which is doable, especially
Thai baht, right.
Thai baht, which is doable on a Swedish salary.
Yeah.
However, from what I've heard, is that especially the apartments industry right now is very competitive. So when you, especially as a student, rent an apartment, you're renting it from somebody who's already renting it from somebody. So it's like secondhand.
So they
renting.
kind of jacked up the prices on each degree as well.
Yeah. And it goes up about 1% every year, I think, which is a lot over time. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to find housing in Sweden right now, but it's not impossible. But if you do rent from somebody who is already renting, usually that contract would last about 1 year before you have to move. So
can you renew it?
It's apparently hard to do that. So you would have to actually move into another one until you can find to rent from the house owner or the apartment owner or something like that. So you would have to move around a lot in the beginning.
Right.
Unless you find somebody to marry over there. Speed run. Find somebody to marry and then move there. But yeah, I think that I don't really remember how much meals and stuff were, but I know that the approximate cost of living for about a month is about 45 to 60K, not including rent.
Wow.
But your salary should cover all that. So as I said, even with a minimum wage job, you will be able to live comfortably.
Right. So
and travel.
So you said about 500 baht per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So how much would you can't remember how much it will cost. You just said that. Yeah. So in Australia, in Sydney, we have this, a very, very cheap, I don't know how to explain this in English.
What is it?
ข้าวราดแกง So there will be this pre-made food in trays. Imagine you're in high school and you get those
a
kind of
cafeteria?
food. Yeah, those kind of stuff. And they just pre-made foods side. Then you have rice and they're just you can choose 3 or 2 for $2. So it's that's actually very, very cheap. But it's not great. It's not tasty. You eat to survive. In that case, if you're really, really on a whim of going broke.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting as well that doesn't translate quite well when it comes to Asia country is fast food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fast food, when they say it's cheap and fast, they're not joking.
Yeah.
Over there. But in here, it's a luxury food in terms of the price.
The price, yeah.
But
the quality is the same or worse, but the price is higher.
Yeah. So that's kind of caught me off guard as well. It's oh my God, you can get a burger, a single burger, a small fries, and a small drink for $3.50. What?
It's a little bit different in Sweden. Fast food chains are not super popular over there. So, there's a lot of them. But if you have McDonald's, for example, people eat there, but it's not that common. It is cheap, but it's like, why would you? So we have this other chain called Max, just MAX, and it's like, it's hamburgers, but it's really good. And it's a fast food chain. And it's like a burger. You know when you see like the McDonald's or Burger King ads and they have all the like the vegetables in it? It's like that, but in real life. They put a bunch of vegetables in, and like I think
That's
I was
amazing.
I was really shocked when I came Thailand first. I was a kid, so I loved it. But when I would go to like McDonald's, and it would just come like as a patty and just cheese.
Just very sad.
It was amazing for me as a kid, but like it was a shock because you wouldn't really get that in Sweden. So usually what you would do if you actually want to save money is you just cook it yourself. It's not that common to go out and eat every day. It's very rare, I would say.
Yeah, for the Western, it's actually very expensive to go out and eat every day.
It is.
Because as I said, like a single meal could cost you like $8 to $15. And that's quite a lot, when you accumulate that like, 3 times a week. Or like 2. So just skip the breakfast. Unlike Thailand where, you can get
a full meal for like $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But then again, like the earnings is completely different.
Yeah. The thing is though, in Thailand, so you have food that costs like $1, which is like pretty good food too. It's like it's really good. So it's like a proper meal with rice and like maybe 2 dishes.
Maybe that's a bit exaggerating. Let's
depends on where you go.
Let's say it's $2 to $3, but you get like 1 main and 2 sides.
If you go to the staff cafeteria, it's cheaper.
Oh, super cheap.
Yeah. But we still have that food that is expensive that goes up to like more than $15.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like anything else except that rice with side dishes is that. So that's the reason why people can't really, live comfortably in the same way that people in Europe, for example, would, be able to like just go out once in a while and do this and this and that. Also, it's quite expensive to cook here if you're not like cooking for a big family.
In Thailand?
Yeah.
I would say it's actually cheaper compared to
for a big family. Yeah, for a big family, yes. But if you live alone or like as a couple, it's not that worth it though.
Oh, right.
Here.
Because you have other options like, as you said, the street foods, like you can just go out and buy. But between the Western and Thailand, it's a lot cheaper to cook in Thailand as well because the ingredients.
Yeah.
So that's also very nice if you want to explore your cooking skills.
That's true. So like if you compare it to groceries in other countries, yes. If you compare it to the street food or like cafeteria food,
no.
Absolutely not.
No.
Because you can't finish the ingredients that you buy too. You have to like buy a...
It comes in a bulk.
Yeah.
And it's like 30 baht, which is like $1, but you get like 4 times the size that you would get in the Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have a kitchen.
But we have made some food here before. We've made like mac and cheese, panna cotta. What else did we make?
Pancakes?
Yeah, pancakes. So it is very possible to, with, induction stove. It is possible to cook if you're bothered. I think that's the, more accurate.
Delivery here is pretty cheap as well compared to other countries.
Yeah.
It's really easy to just get it delivered.
One thing, now that you mention it, everything in Asia, most of the time, we open till really late.
Oh, yeah.
And that's freaking amazing. That's like absolutely amazing.
So if you're in Thailand and you're planning on moving to like Europe or Australia, don't expect to be able to find anything open after like 6.
Or like 8 rather. Because like, okay, the fancy restaurants usually opens till like 9. That's like pushing it already. The mail post office closes at 4 or 5. Shopping mall closes at 6. If you get hungry at 11, you have 2 options. you either go to, well, 3. You either find Asian restaurants, which opens till like 4 a.m. or never close. Go to kebab's place, which is also amazing.
Or you stay hungry.
You can go to some what's called like Woolworths or Coles, which is
I guess
supermarkets that open till like 11. I think not anymore, but
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have that many options.
Yeah, like when I was growing up in Sweden, like I was used to it, and then after living here and then going to another country as an adult, I was so pissed last time.
Yeah.
Especially I went to UK. I went to see a friend there.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that like they already close pretty early, right? But on Sundays, they don't even open.
They just close.
They just stay closed on Sundays. I was like, but
I guess I'll starve.
But what about like all the people who work? But it's not the same there,
Yeah.
So like people actually do their groceries like on time. While here you could just go do it whenever.
Like you could just like pre-COVID, it's 2 a.m. If you're hungry, you can just walk down and there'll be food for you.
Yeah. There's street food everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not clean, but it's food.
Yeah, we're not saying that it's clean. It's just available and it tastes good.
There's also 7-Eleven open all the time.
This country is overrun by 7-Elevens.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have anything else but 7. Well, we do have other things, but
yeah,
you would be able to find about 4 7-Elevens down the street,
one street
within like, I don't know, 500 meters apart.
The thing is that, from what I've heard, for 7-Elevens, there's no distance limit or like minimum distance between the 7s, but when you want to open one. So like you can privately open a 7-Eleven, you can just like search for like permission.
Yeah, you buy the license to open and then you just have to follow the guidelines.
Yeah, so there's no like guidelines where you have to be this far away from a 7-Eleven to open one. You can open it like right next to an old 7-Eleven if you wanted to.
I mean, the one near my house, it's essentially like 2 stores apart.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid. It's just mind-blowing, and they probably sell the same stuff as well.
Yeah, but it's so convenient.
7-Eleven here is actually
so convenient.
Very, very good.
True. Oh yeah. So to everybody who has a 7-Eleven in like a Western country, I feel so bad for you because it's just trash.
It's trash.
Compared, like even though Thailand is compared to like Korea or like Japan, the supermarkets are not that great, but it's still like amazing compared to a Western country.
I only went to 7-Eleven twice in the span of 7 years I spent in Australia. Once was I was really thirsty and there's nothing around there. The second time was I was craving meat pie. And that's about it. So it's really, really bad.
Yeah, they don't have anything.
And everything's more expensive.
Yes.
Meanwhile, like in here, the snacks and everything just about the same price. You find
and they can cook food. They can cook rice for you at some 7-Elevens here.
Oh, recently, the one next to my place as well, Tesco Lotus, they started selling fresh meats. They have like a mini wet market area inside the store. And it's not big.
Yeah.
It's not big at all.
You can also find fresh fruits.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah. They like have like apples, bananas.
They have everything. And then because a lot of them are privately owned, like by random people, they can kind of decide what they want to do. So I remember when I was in uni, I was living in a dorm. But it was like a, private dorm. So like you had to actually rent it like an apartment. And there was a 7-Eleven connected to that building. And one night I just went down at like probably 3 a.m. because uni student. And they were cooking rice porridge for sale. Like they were cooking rice porridge in front of the cashier.
Hell yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, hello, welcome. Do you want some rice porridge? We just made it." And I was like,
what the fuck
this
is going
amazing. Like this is like a uni student's dream.
And so one other thing that's a product that became really popular. It's a sandwich, which it's like ham and cheese sandwich. That product was being tested around my school when I was in Thailand. So because what would student eat? It's like, of course, something like very trashy, like ham and cheese sandwich. So they actually used the one around my school, or probably other school as well. But I remember this very clearly because it didn't exist back then. And for about like almost a year, I was just eating, and they would manually put together the sandwich and put it in the presser.
They have like a little toaster thingy, the sandwich thingy.
And then they stopped doing that. I was like, oh, what happened? And then for like a month passed by, they just filled the shelf with that packages. I was like, oh.
That's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there's another 7-Eleven next to this schoolgirls. The amount of sales they make, it's ridiculous to the point where she could just put like in her own bakery. Like she just decided, I want this in the shop and you can't say no to it. And she did. It was like, okay then. Like you can just, go around the rules and regulations if you can make as much money.
Yeah, exactly. Like as long as it sells, you can do anything. A lot of the 7-Elevens around universities as well have, so as I mentioned, like they cook. And I don't mean like pre-packaged food where they heat it up and stuff like that. I mean they actually cook food for you. So like they have like a little kitchen, and I used to order, omelette. And you can choose what to put into the omelette.
I've never seen that in 7-Eleven.
It's in my uni.
Probably why.
Yeah. So they have like a little, at like cafeterias when they have like the ingredients, you can choose what you want to put into. Yeah. It's that. And they have that in 7-Eleven. And I'm just like, I ate that every day because it's so cheap. It's like 30 baht.
But they got boycotted because, basically like they can't let 7-Eleven run the entire country.
Yeah.
Because that's, by having that and it's open 24/7, they're essentially stealing
customers from the locals, which is true, which is a shame.
But then again, I'm kind of doubt that like they would make great food though.
7?
Yeah.
Like if it was now as an adult, if I have a choice to like not eat 7-Eleven food, I will definitely not eat 7-Eleven food. It's like, it's just for university students basically.
It's just easily accessible.
Or if you're like out really late and you really can't find any street vendors, you go to 7. Yeah. But it's not that good.
I mean, they're too clean. There's no like, the tasty secret.
I heard a lot of people get like food poisoning from 7-Eleven food.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the one that they made?
No, like prepackaged. Yeah.
Oh, I've never had that.
Yeah, me either. But it happens. But still, it's still much better than Western supermarket.
Japan 7-Eleven, if you've been, you know what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, it's like a wonder world. It's like a playground that you have the entire aisles just for like 7-Eleven branded snacks.
It really is a convenience store. Like it's convenient.
They sell anything and everything. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So if you're planning on moving away from Thailand, that's definitely going to be like one of the biggest things. It's really difficult to find food late at night.
Yeah.
Or like cheap food in general.
Yeah. So I had to stock a lot of,
Mama.
Yeah. Or Shin Ramyeon. Or I just made like a big batch of food myself and just put in the fridge or the freezer.
Yeah. What else is there?
Public transportation.
Ooh. This really depends on what country you're
all right, that's fair.
Looking at as well. If it's Sweden specifically, you can easily like not drive. It's much more convenient. But if you're like looking to save money and not have to go through like the whole driving license thing, you can definitely just go around with like buses and trains. Taxis are a little bit expensive, but you only have to take it if you like stay out really late.
In Australia, in Sydney, they have like the pension card and like student cards, which will cut down the price by half.
Yeah.
But if you were to pay for full price, it could get a little expensive. It could be like $3.40 for 5 stations. So that's actually quite, a lot if you go like a return trip. But the system goes really, really like far out. So it's also quite convenient. And there's an app to like check the time. The only issue I would have is the fact that the train stops usually after midnight. So if you were to out drinking and you missed it, then
taxi.
Tough luck.
Yeah. I mean, trains stop after midnight here too.
Yeah, but like,
it's easy to get like a taxi here.
For like a bit longer. I don't know.
Yeah. I just remember when you mentioned that because Sweden is super like self-sustained. We don't have people shaking your ticket. Technically, you could just go on a bus or a train and just not pay. But there will be like situations where people come and shake, like just randomly. It's like random shakes. So, but I know a lot of people who like never paid a single bus ticket in their whole life and just, and when they see like somebody about to start shaking, they just get off. Don't do that though. I don't condone that. Legally.
I've seen
due to legal reasons.
I've seen quite a few people got kicked out from a train because of that. Yeah. We had this system. So we have this card. It's called Opal card, where they used to implement the system where like if you take over this amount of trip, the rest of the week will be free. People abuse the shit out of that. So they would go into like the city where it's like the 2 closest station, and they just like go and beep, 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 beep until they hit the limit for the trip. Because someone has actually calculated out, and it's just a lot cheaper to do that. Like every Monday, just like go like and scan it. Like, yeah, it just, and they got rid of that because it's been exploited.
Yeah.
And they tried a new system, also got exploited. I don't know what it is now because I left 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people believe that public transport should be free. I have nothing to say about that because I don't live in a country where that would be possible currently. So I don't know what's happening in Sweden right now.
Right.
But a lot of other things are free in Sweden if you pay tax, which is usually like 29 to 60% depending on your salary. Usually it will be around like 40, 49 maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But if you pay tax, you get healthcare, free school. So the dentist would be included in that as well.
Okay. We just had. Wait, I'm not wearing blazer. Shit.
Transform. Post edit.
The magical of editing. Okay, we just had some technical issue where we just keep babbling on. And
we talk too much and ran out of battery when we don't have an extra battery because we spent all the money on the microphone.
Yes, to hear our lovely voices. I think it's lovely.
Anyway,
bold statement.
Where were we? It's pretty late right now.
Yeah,
and we just ate.
So it took some time to like charge battery.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were talking about how like the tax in Sweden are actually covering up a lot of living expenses for you. So I think we should wrap this up because it's going on for like about 2 hours.
Yeah. So we just came back to, do some final points and say goodbye.
Yes. For this week.
For this week. So.
Another thing that I want to point out though is once you are overseas or abroad, opening a banking account could be a little bit problematic. If it's local bank, it's completely fine. So, you just need your passport, your ID card, and just say like, oh, where do you live and whatnot. Easy. But if you wish to open up your account in an international banking, what's called bank, for example, HSBC, when I was in Australia, it was so much work. They just required gazillion things. That's a bit exaggerating, but what they required from me was on top of my actual ID, passport, where do I live? They require to proof of those three, I would need my like electricity bill, water bill, to prove that I actually live there and it's under my name. Purely just because my passport is Thailand. So they considered us in a third world country and it's less credible.
Same situation as the whole visa thing.
Yeah. So it became even more problematic because those were under my sister's name. Yeah, I didn't change it because I went there and it's like, oh, I've been paying the whole time, but I didn't change the name. So I had to get my other bills to prove that although it's under my sister's name, I'm the one who's been paying it. And on top of that, since I didn't work over there, visa, I had to get my parents' financial statements to support that. He has enough money and he actually got money legally to support me. So on top of me having to provide my financial statements from the local bank, I had to get my dad and then I had to get the proof of those electricity bills and the statements of which I paid.
Yep.
Even then, it took them like months. At the end, I was like, you know what? Just forget it. I'm not opening it up.
Yeah, I also don't have an international card or bank account either. I don't really have one in Sweden right now anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, like I had one, but then it just didn't make sense.
Right.
So, yeah, not to go into too much detail. I'm not sure about how it works in Sweden right now. I think you just need your ID number if you're Swedish.
Right.
But I'm not sure about international. I'm sure you can find the information though.
It would be easier for you because you have Swedish passport.
Yeah. And I mean, for like Swedish people, you just give them your ID number and then you can open one. Basically, it's that.
Pretty convenient.
It's very convenient. But I know that for some countries, it's like very complicated, like even just normal accounts. And I know.
Are you okay?
It's because we just ate. We had pizza. But yeah, so like in China, it's pretty easy to do banking after like considering all the banks are connected. You can like go to any ATM and take out money, no matter what your bank is. You can use like QR code to payments and stuff, or you can like connect your phone number to your account, so you can just transfer to a phone number. It's very easy here.
Yeah. So you can actually pay by just transferring money on the spot.
Yeah.
Rather than having to use card.
Which is pretty funny because like Thailand doesn't use like mobile banking or like cashless.
We do use mobile banking, but
compared to other countries though, like there's still so much cash involved in Thailand.
Yeah. The thing is that we don't the tap and go. We don't actually, we have it, but we don't use it because no one knows how to use it.
Yeah.
Only recently, we also just got the checkout machine in the shopping mall.
Yeah, the self checkout.
Yeah, in the, not shopping mall, supermarkets. That's the word.
Yeah.
But also, since we have a lot of street vendors, another thing is that in Thailand, you don't need a license to open up a restaurant or like a cafes or anything.
Because of the street food culture.
Yes. You only need it if you produce a huge amount, then you would need to get like a permit to what's called make it in an industrial capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like having the machine which accept cards doesn't make too much sense because
You need that you get charged for it too.
yeah, and you know that as we said earlier, the dishes cost like only 70 baht, something like that. So it's not worth getting the machine at all. So cash is definitely still a thing. We have the wet market as well, so that's kind of plays a part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
And
right?
not everybody has a bank account.
Mm. And not everybody has smartphone.
Yeah.
That's another big issue.
Yeah.
For my accounts in Australia right now, it's got blocked entirely
Yeah.
because, you know, the typical, oh, you type in your password wrong. And then even though you never change it, and then when you try to change it, it just says you can't use your old password. Yeah. And it just goes in a loop to the point where they completely locked out my account.
You have to actually go back there to like open it.
I even tried calling them, right? And they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have enough proof that it's actually you.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, what now? It's like, oh, sorry, you gotta go back to your original branch. So if I want to access it, I have to fly back to spend about 50,000 baht to just open up my bank account again.
Yep.
Doesn't
But
make
yeah.
sense.
So you have to research what kind of system they're using in the country you're gonna move to as well. It's something that I think most people like, just don't look into
No.
because you don't think about it as the first thing you think about when you move to another country. You know, like you would think about rent and stuff and like finding a place or like finding a job. But yeah, it's like a big part of it.
Yeah, a lot of times you would just assume that it will probably work the same as where you came from.
But it doesn't.
It's not.
I recently found out that in the US, you can't transfer money between banks.
What?
So you can't like, I got confirmation from my friend as well. You can't transfer your money from like one bank to another bank without a middle
Like the
application, like a third party application. So that's why they use like Cash App and stuff like that. You see like on internet when
like PayPal and whatnot?
yeah.
Oh, that's why.
So they use like, because we've been very confused about this for a long time. Because of course, like a lot of people use like Twitter and like Facebook and stuff over there. So we see a lot of, especially donations and stuff. It's like, oh, like you can Cash App me this or like this and the Venmo or whatever. All the application. We don't have those here. Like we don't use stuff like that. So we were like, oh.
We just directly transfer
Okay.
from like straight from our phone because our phone, like all the banks can be transferred to one another. Doesn't matter if it's under your name or not. You can just go for it.
Yeah. Like as long as you have either the bank number for transfer or or their
We've been talking too much.
Or the what we call prompt pay number, which would either be your ID card number or your phone number.
Which makes things even more convenient.
Yeah, because you don't have to remember your actual bank account number.
It's amazing.
And I think it's, from what I've heard from like people in the US, if you have somebody's transfer number for bank account, you can get like hacked or like you can get like money stolen from you. But here it's like, if you give somebody your transfer number, it's completely different from your bank account number.
Yeah.
So you can't use any of those numbers, even like the phone number, to get access to that account. You can only transfer money in.
I mean, even if you give them like the account number, they can't really do anything about it because
it's only for transferring money in.
I mean, you can, yeah, you're right. And even then, like, if you try to, you know, fake your way into like what's called identity theft, it wouldn't work because first of all, there's like some ID card authentication and you need like actual IDs. The reason that it got so much better was because a few years back, there was some kind of scandals going on and they have to like up the entire security system.
Yeah.
But even after all that, it's still very convenient to use mobile banking in Thailand.
Yeah, like if you have to do something online, you can just call them and they ask you a few security questions and stuff like that. And then you're just good to go.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, I mean, there's always like the whole thing where they transfer you money and then they say like, I transfer you money, I need it back. But you're not, I don't know, there's nothing here that forces you to transfer money back to people.
Not at all, because and they can't sue you as well, because by rights they willingly transfer it to you.
Yeah, and there's like this thing like if you transfer it wrong, the money will go back to you though. Like I've done that before, so I transfer to the wrong number.
Oh.
And because it wasn't, I think that, but in that case, like nobody had that number.
Right.
They just transferred back within a few days.
If someone has that number, then it would go in. There's actually another case where they would pretend to, transfer the wrong number. And then they would ask you like, oh, I meant to transfer it to this person. Could you transfer that chunk of money into that person? What happened was it was, used under like illegal stuff. So they used you as the middle person as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like usually we don't just do that. We just like, oh, I'll give you back the money.
Yeah, we don't, at least I never gotten that.
Neither.
So it's not that common.
Yeah. Mobile banking in Thailand
is so
great.
Easy.
It's great.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. And sometimes actually it works better than using cards because they don't get the shops don't get charged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are times that they don't have the card, the machine, or they would just straight up say, if you were to pay in transfer the money, you'd actually get discount.
Because it's like depositing, it's the same concept as like depositing money in an ATM machine into that account. It's like the same thing. That's why there's no transfer fee where it has to go through the system and all that. It's just like you deposit money.
Yeah. The only fee you have to pay is when you use, let's say, an ATM card from Bank A and withdrawing money from Bank B ATM. And you only get charged after the 4th time.
The 5th time?
You can do it free 3 times a month.
I see.
Yeah. So that's pretty great. And the charge is like 3 baht or like 10 baht.
Yeah, it's very, very low. It's like a certain percentage. It's very low. And you can find ATM machines for your bank everywhere.
And even then, like you can just, as I said, if you don't have cash, just transfer.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Even like everybody, like delivery people or like street vendors, they sometimes accept like transfer straight into their account.
Yeah, they slowly picked up like that kind of system, which is great. Because Thai notes is actually paper. So it's just very, very, flimsy.
Yeah.
I've thrown my Australian notes, it's plastic, into a washing machine before. And it came out like perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Except when I throw it into like a drying machine. Then it just shrank.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it shrank because heat.
I've watched a lot of Thai notes though, and tried them. And they work fine. Like, because usually I fold them up. So they're like in a little folded like package. And I put them in my jeans pocket and then I wash it. And they come out like still folded.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we have to cover?
Not really. I just wanted to say that the coffee today is really good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. From Hands and Heart.
We got it today.
Good job. It's Costa Rica. Am I going to butcher the name? It is very difficult to read. It is from Costa Rica. It is anaerobic process geisha.
Geisha, you guys who watched the last episode will know what that means.
The taste notes are pineapple, peach, and passion fruit.
It's very juicy.
It is
As in like
mouthful.
It tastes like fruit juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still has the coffee.
Yeah. It smells like coffee, but tastes like fruit juice.
Yeah. Probably throw someone off. Like, what the hell is these two talking about?
It's exactly what I said.
Yeah. Yep.
You heard what I said. Yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about Sweden. Well, just that. Oh, I mean, there's like a whole other topic about discrimination, especially now with the Asian hate and like also like LGBT acceptance.
True.
We can always talk about that in another episode as well. I think both.
It's quite a complicated topic. So
it's very complicated. Both Australia and Sweden, I think, generally are pretty open compared to other countries. But there's always like, some stuff.
There always, there's certain group of people who just
are just ignorant. Yeah.
I mean, Australia, I believe, around February, we have Mardi Gras, which is the Pride Parade. And it's always fun to, go and have a look. Because Thai communities will be in there every single year and you can just see them just,
going wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that we don't really have a proper Pride here. We have it in Pattaya, I know, and in Phuket some years. Yep.
On that note, though, Australia only recently approved the gay marriage.
Yeah.
Although we had the Pride Parade for decades. Because of the, the higher people. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole other
things
box of worms.
Into.
Yeah, but generally speaking, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. People are pretty chill.
If it's out in the open, it's pretty good. Sometimes like online and stuff is a bit...
It's online. It's just...
they can hide.
Wild West.
Yeah.
I think...
That's it then.
Yeah, that's it for this week.
Thank you for watching towards the end.
Yes.
Or listening towards the end if you're on Spotify. Or any other streaming service.
This episode has been going on for quite longer than we have expected, but I think it's going to be a reoccurring, what's it called?
Reoccurring thing?
Thing? I was trying to be sophisticated here and I just lost my train of thought.
Reoccurring situation.
That is correct.
Reoccurring instance.
Yes. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are not bored.
We haven't really decided on what to speak about next time, but you'll find out when you see it, when it comes out, whenever that is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to sleep. I work tomorrow. I had a shoot today, and I'm tired.
We can talk about some, fashion stuff next week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you. Bye-bye and peace.